Meghan Markle's podcast catastrophe. Has her media empire hit rock bottom? Picture a duchess striding confidently to a microphone, her global fame and Netflix millions fueling dreams of podcast domination, only to watch it all implode in a matter of weeks. Meghan Markle's latest venture, a business-focused podcast, has cratered from a heavily hyped debut to a forgotten afterthought, barely registering with listeners after just 5 episodes. This isn't a mere misstep. It's a screaming red flag that her media empire might be teetering on collapse. Why is her podcast flopping so spectacularly? What does it reveal about her struggle to stay relevant? And can she claw her way back to the spotlight? Join us as we unpack Meghan's latest failure, dissect her post-royal career, and explore what's next for a star whose shine is fading fast. The meteoric rise and brutal fall of Meghan's podcast. When Meghan's podcast launched, it rode a wave of publicity straight to the top 1 or 2 spots on major charts. She wasted no time trumpeting its success, waving the flag of victory as proof she could conquer the media world. But the celebration was premature. Now, with only 5 of a planned 8 episodes released, the show has vanished from the top 200, outshone by obscure podcasts and even a crude show featuring a guy joking about sitting on a toilet. The numbers paint a grim picture. Listeners aren't sticking around, and the initial buzz was more artificial than organic. What's gone wrong? The podcast's premise is fundamentally flawed. Billed as a platform for business insights, it feels more like a casual coffee chat between friends, with episodes meandering into personal stories about not fitting in or holistic practices like using mushroom-based adaptogens during pregnancy. These tangents might appeal to a small, wellness-obsessed niche, but they fall flat with listeners seeking practical, actionable advice on entrepreneurship or leadership. Meghan, for all her poise and charisma, lacks the credibility to anchor a business podcast. Her own ventures, like the sputtering American Riviera Orchard, reveal a pattern of inconsistent execution and unclear vision, undermining her ability to position herself as an authority in this space. The podcast's structure compounds the problem. Limiting it to just 8 episodes feels like a half-hearted experiment, not a serious commitment to building an audience. Compare this to podcast giants like Joe Rogan, who churns out hours of content weekly, or even lesser-known shows that maintain steady output to cultivate loyalty. Meghan's short-run format gives listeners little reason to invest emotionally or intellectually, especially when the content feels so disconnected from their needs. Worse, the absence of a video component is a glaring misstep in 2025, where YouTube dominates the podcast landscape. Recording audio only from what seems to be a sterile Montecito home studio feels lazy and outdated, especially for a star with access to top-tier production resources. Listeners crave visual engagement, seeing the chemistry of interviews, not just hearing them, and Meghan's refusal to adapt is costing her dearly. An audience that refuses to stay. Harry and Meghan are unrivaled at generating headlines. From their bombshell 2021 Oprah interview to their glossy Netflix docuseries, they know how to ignite global conversations. But converting that noise into a loyal following has been their Achilles heel. The podcast's initial chart success was driven by aggressive promotion and the curiosity of royal watchers, not by genuine listener engagement. Once the novelty wore off, the audience evaporated, leaving Meghan's show languishing behind podcasts with far less name recognition. This pattern is painfully familiar. Since stepping back from royal duties in 2020, the couple has struggled to sustain momentum across their projects. Their Spotify deal, which produced Meghan's earlier podcast Archetypes, ended after a single season amid reports of underwhelming performance. Their Netflix series, Harry and Meghan, hit number 10 globally at its peak, but quickly faded from cultural relevance. The current podcast, backed by Lemonada Media, was meant to be a fresh start, but it's repeating the same mistakes. A splashy launch followed by a steep decline. The problem lies in execution. Meghan's projects often feel like they're chasing trends rather than building something enduring. Her audience is another obstacle. Meghan polarizes like few others in the public eye. She has a devoted fan base that celebrates her as a trailblazer, a woman of color challenging the monarchy's status quo. But she also faces a vocal contingent of critics who dissect her every move, accusing her of opportunism or inauthenticity. This divide leaves little room for the middle ground needed to grow a broad mainstream following. The podcast, with its vague focus and personal tangents, doesn't bridge that gap. It's unclear who she's trying to reach. Aspiring entrepreneurs? Working moms? Lifestyle enthusiasts? Without a defined audience, the show feels aimless, failing to resonate deeply enough to keep listeners coming back week after week. A career adrift in a sea of ambition. The podcast flop is just one chapter in a broader saga of misfires. Since leaving the royal family, Meghan and Harry have tried to carve out a space as media moguls, but their efforts have been a mixed bag. Their 2021 Oprah interview was a cultural earthquake, drawing 17 million viewers and sparking debates about race, mental health, and the monarchy's inner workings. Their memoir, Spare, topped bestseller lists in 2023 but alienated some fans with its raw, sometimes petty revelations. Their Netflix deal, rumored to be worth $100 million, produced a polished docuseries but little else of note, with reports suggesting the streamer is frustrated by the lack of follow-up content. Each project generates a burst of buzz, but none have solidified a lasting brand identity. Meghan's lifestyle brand, American Riviera Orchard, is perhaps the clearest example of her struggles. Launched in March 2024, it promised artisanal products, jams, home goods, maybe even cookbooks, tied to her idyllic Montecito lifestyle. The initial batch of strawberry jam sold out in hours, prompting Meghan to declare victory on social media. But the triumph was hollow. Critics noted the small batch sizes, suggesting the sellout was more about limited stock than overwhelming demand. Since then, the brand has stagnated with sporadic Instagram posts, like a vague Happy Earth Day message or a cryptic Stay Tuned, failing to clarify its purpose or product lineup. The lack of follow-through mirrors Meghan's broader career: big launches, minimal staying power. This inconsistency raises tough questions about her strategy. Does she have a clear vision, or is she throwing darts at a board, hoping something sticks? The podcast's pivot to business feels like an attempt to rebrand as an entrepreneur and thought leader, but it's a hard sell when her track record shows more flash than substance. Her earlier ventures, like the short-lived Tig blog or her brief stint as a guest editor for British Vogue, followed a similar pattern: bold starts, quick fades. Meanwhile, Harry's projects, his Invictus Games, a few public appearances, and occasional charity work lean heavily on his royal past rather than forging a new path. The couple's reliance on Meghan as the primary breadwinner puts immense pressure on her to deliver, but her output, 5 podcast episodes in months, a dormant lifestyle brand, falls far short of the hustle required in the cutthroat world of celebrity media. The industry's harsh verdict Hollywood is watching, and the verdict is brutal. The entertainment industry thrives on results, and Meghan's string of underperforming projects is raising red flags. Her Spotify deal ended in 2023 with whispers of unmet expectations, with executives reportedly unimpressed by Archetype's reach. Her Netflix partnership, while still active, hasn't delivered the game-changing content the streamer likely expected for its 9-figure investment. Lemonada Media, a smaller outfit known for female-led podcasts, took a gamble on Meghan's new show, but the dismal numbers suggest they may regret it. Industry insiders are starting to question whether her star power is worth the hype when her projects consistently fail to sustain momentum. Public sentiment is equally divided, though harder to quantify. Her fans praise her ambition, resilience, and willingness to challenge the royal establishment, seeing her as a symbol of empowerment. Detractors, however, argue she's overreached, banking on her title and a narrative of victimhood without delivering substance. Social media platforms amplify this split, with hashtags swinging between adoration and scorn. The truth likely lies in a gray area. Meghan is a talented communicator with a compelling personal story, but her inability to focus and execute is holding her back. The podcast's failure reinforces this, proving that even a duchess can't coast on name recognition in an industry that demands authenticity, effort, and results. What's next for Meghan? With a $20 million Montecito mansion to maintain, private security costs, and Harry's ventures largely sidelined, Meghan faces immense pressure to turn things around. The podcast, like her Spotify effort, seems destined to be shelved. Limonada may push for a second season, but without a major overhaul, clearer focus, weekly episodes, a robust YouTube presence, it's hard to imagine it recovering. Meghan's next move will be pivotal, and she has several paths to consider, each with its own risks and rewards. Option 1. Double down on lifestyle branding. American Riviera Orchard could become her flagship, but it needs a complete rebrand to compete in the crowded lifestyle space. Think Gwyneth Paltrow's Goop, which blends wellness, luxury, and accessibility with ruthless efficiency, or Reese Witherspoon's Hello Sunshine, which pairs media savvy with relatable charm. Meghan could focus on consistent product drops, jams, candles, linens, tied to a defined aesthetic, coastal chic perhaps, with a nod to her California roots. A companion YouTube channel with cooking demos, home tours, or celebrity collabs could amplify the brand's reach. But this path requires a level of discipline she hasn't yet shown, regular content, transparent communication, and a willingness to embrace the grind of e-commerce. Her current approach, vague posts, limited stock, won't cut it in a market dominated by polished competitors. Option 2. Lean into storytelling. Meghan's strength lies in her ability to connect emotionally, whether sharing her struggles with mental health or her journey as a biracial woman in the royal spotlight. A podcast focused on personal stories, hers and those of inspiring guests, could play to this talent. Topics like motherhood, resilience, or social justice align with her public persona and could attract a broader audience than a business show. Pairing this with a YouTube channel where her warmth and polished shine would help her compete in a crowded market. She'd need to commit to weekly episodes, though, and avoid the temptation to limit it to a short-run series. A video component is non-negotiable. Fans want to see her, not just hear her, and a static LA studio could streamline production. This path plays to her strengths, but demands consistency and vulnerability, qualities she sometimes shied away from in favor of a curated image. Option 3. Step back to regroup. A riskier move would be stepping back from the spotlight to focus on behind-the-scenes work. Producing content for others, as she's done sparingly with Netflix, or doubling down on philanthropy through their Archewell Foundation could let her refine her brand away from public scrutiny. This path is unlikely, given her drive for visibility, but it could rebuild her credibility in the industry. A strategic pause, say a year focused on developing a killer project, might reset expectations and give her time to craft a cohesive vision. The downside? Fading from view risks losing relevance in a fast-moving industry where attention is currency. Option 4. Go all in on advocacy. Meghan has a history of advocacy, from her pre-royal work with the UN to her vocal stance on issues like gender equality and mental health. A platform centered on activism, perhaps a docu-series, a podcast, or a high-profile campaign, could reposition her as a thought leader with purpose. Partnering with established organizations or A-list allies could amplify her impact and lend credibility. This path aligns with her values but requires navigating the tricky line between sincerity and performative wokeness, a criticism she's faced before. It also risks alienating parts of her audience if the messaging feels preachy or disconnected from their daily lives. Can she bounce back? At 43, Meghan has time to pivot and rebuild, but the clock is ticking. The entertainment world is unforgiving, and her window to establish a lasting brand is narrowing. Success will require learning from past mistakes, overpromising and underdelivering, chasing trends instead of setting them, and assuming her name is enough to carry a project. She'll also need to navigate the polarized perceptions around her, finding ways to appeal beyond her core fans without alienating them. Picture a rebooted Meghan in 2027. A thriving lifestyle brand with monthly product drops, a YouTube channel blending personal vlogs with A-list interviews, and a podcast that feels authentic and engaging. She's hosting charity galas, producing a Netflix series on women's empowerment, and guest starring on a hit talk show, her warmth and wit winning over skeptics. It's possible, but it demands a level of discipline, focus, and humility she hasn't consistently shown. The alternative is grim, a slow fade into irrelevance, another celebrity who burned bright but couldn't sustain the flame. Her Montecito mansion, private jets, and A-list lifestyle depend on her ability to deliver. Fast. The bigger picture. Celebrity in the modern age. Meghan's struggles reflect a broader truth about modern celebrity. Fame is fleeting without a clear purpose. The post-royal era has been a high-stakes test of her ability to translate her story into a viable career, and so far the results are underwhelming. Her podcast's failure isn't just about bad execution, it's a symptom of a deeper disconnect between her ambitions and her audience's expectations. Harry and Meghan set out to redefine what it means to be royal exiles, but without a cohesive vision, they risk becoming a cautionary tale of squandered potential. This saga also underscores the challenges of celebrity branding in the digital age. Audiences are savvier than ever, quick to spot inauthenticity or half-baked efforts. The rise of platforms like YouTube and TikTok has democratized content creation, letting unknowns outshine A-listers with grit and consistency. Meghan, with her wealth and connections, should be dominating this space, yet she's being outpaced by creators with a fraction of her resources. It's a humbling lesson. In 2025, star power alone isn't enough. You need hustle, vision, and a genuine connection with your audience. Final thoughts. Meghan Markle remains a fascinating figure, a woman who defied the odds to marry a prince, then walked away from royalty to chase her own dreams. But her podcast's collapse is a stark reminder that even a duchess can't fake it in a world that values authenticity and effort. Her media empire, once brimming with promise, is at a crossroads. Can she pivot, refine her brand, and deliver something truly compelling? Or will she continue to stumble, each project a reminder of what could have been? The choice is hers, but the audience's patience is wearing thin. Her next move will determine whether she can reclaim her narrative or if her star will fade into the crowded Hollywood sky. For now, the mic might be better left off. Your turn. What do you think? Is Meghan's podcast a lost cause, or can she salvage it with a bold new approach? Should she focus on lifestyle branding, storytelling, advocacy, or something else entirely? Drop your thoughts in the comments. We love hearing your take. And if you enjoyed this deep dive into the highs and lows of celebrity life, hit that subscribe button and ring the bell for more. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you in the next one.